And now, the general weather around Alaska.
Okay, we'll start today's segment off looking at the hazardous weather graphic. And we've got a coastal flood advisory out for Nunivak Island and the Kuskokwim Delta coast until 6 p.m. this evening for possible coastal flooding of, or likely coastal flooding of the low-lying areas there. And that's out for a few more hours, should end early this evening. Otherwise, flood watch out here for the southwest interior in the yellow shaded area, and also a flood watch here for the Kobuk and northern Koyukuk Valley and for the Seward Peninsula and eastern Norton Sound there due to the heavy rains and those flooded watches out through tomorrow. And then a wind advisory here for the southern Koyukuk Valley or Kobuk Valley there down in toward McGrath and Nikolai for continued gusts to 40 miles an hour. And a wind advisory for the Alaska Range, central and western Alaska Range for gusts to 55 miles an hour through tonight into early tomorrow. And from there, we'll move to the fire danger update here. And the upper Tanana Valley and Copper River Basin remain dry, along with windy conditions that enhance enhance the spread of fires if any break out. And the Panhandle will stay hot and dry this week, increasing fire danger due to the hot, dry conditions in the southeast coast there. And wet weather has brought an end to the fire season in the interior. And the outlook is for southeast interior and Panhandle to stay warm and dry through the weekend, which will keep elevated fire concerns, mainly in the upper Tanana Valley. And for the fire danger tomorrow for spruce here, high fire danger on the lee side of the eastern Alaska Range with moderate fire danger extending down into the Copper River Basin. Actually, in the windy areas of the Copper River Basin tomorrow, look for high fire danger for spruce and also in the central Kenai Peninsula. And from there, going to satellite imagery, you can see a really active low pressure area tracking northeastward quite rapidly out of the northern Bering Sea, moving right across the Seward Peninsula. And the front here bringing a lot of clouds, wind, and rain all the way into the western part of the state, extending down over the eastern Aleutians and Alaska Peninsula today with heavy rains up here in the west central interior of the state and clouds spreading all the way up now, thickening on the Arctic coast. Drier conditions, but still cloudy skies here over south central Alaska, and drier conditions Kodiak Island. Windy day in portions of the Copper River Basin, and some clouds here right along the southeast coast. Otherwise, a dry day for the most part down in that area. Rolling that through again, you can see this band of clouds about to move into the southern Panhandle. There could be an isolated shower or two with that, but whatever falls won't be very significant at all. And moving on to this is the peak wind gusts here today for the state. And you can see 63 miles an hour at Cape Newenham, about the highest on here. Port Hayden had a peak wind gust of 54 miles per hour, winds gusting near 50 miles an hour at King Salmon, and 50 to 55 miles an hour at Tooksuk Bay and up toward Cape Romanzoff there on the Yukon Delta coast. And you can see pretty good winds right on up into Norton Sound there, and also to the east with McGrath picking up a wind gust of 44 miles per hour today. And over in the Copper River Basin, Gulkana, actually over here, right there, had 31 miles an hour, and at Anchorage International Airport, wind gusts out of the southeast to 32 miles an hour. And the next graphic here is showing the 12-hour rainfall amounts for today, 12-hour period ending at about 3 p.m. You can see Koyuk here having 2.5 inches of rain. In fact, Elam and Koyuk there picking up around 2.5 inches again in the 12-hour period ending today. So pretty heavy rains here coming right on up across Norton Sound with over an inch falling here, White Mountain, Golovin area over toward Nome and those locations. And from there, looking at the forecast for tonight, that low coming across the Seward Peninsula tracks very rapidly northeastward there, right over the Mackenzie River Bay area after midnight tonight, say around 3, 4 in the morning into that location. Front trailing back to the southwest into another low here that comes northward and enhances the rainfall again over the Kuskokwim Delta, but not quite reaching, kind of drying out over the northern Yukon Delta there. And showers with drier conditions and a lot less wind for the Seward Peninsula area. Bering Sea, pretty showery conditions there with a trough over the central areas here around the Pribilof Islands. And another weak low developing here along this frontal boundary, kind of holding the front back to the west a little bit, keeping it from moving too fast to the east. And that'll keep it wet and breezy for the Alaska Peninsula, eastern Aleutians, and clouds tending to thicken up here over south central Alaska with some shower activity developing along the western Alaska Range and maybe even the southern Seward Peninsula and in Prince William Sound. But high pressure here near Yakutat, keeping the southeast coast area dry, and gusty winds continue from the south through the Copper River Basin there, keeping the fire dangers in the windy areas there on the high side. Up to the north here, colder air coming down out of the Arctic could mix up precipitation with snow for the north slope and the Arctic coast. And then the forecast for tomorrow, low pressure drifts off to the east here over the eastern Brooks Range, sitting up right around Arctic Village tomorrow afternoon. The stronger low kicking off to the north off the chart. And this frontal boundary with a couple of weak lows tracking northward here, keep it wet over the western interior, but winds will be a lot lighter tomorrow than what they were today, as well as the rainfall amounts will be lighter as well, but still a wet day here over much of the western interior. Maybe some sun breaks there along the northwest coast, northern Seward Peninsula. Seward Peninsula tomorrow seeing a much drier day than today, and maybe some breaks there with the rain ending for the eastern Aleutians on Alaska and Nikolsky, maybe Adak and Atka. Pretty showery around the Pribilof Islands, and gusty winds continue for Bristol Bay and especially the Alaska Peninsula here. And a trough brings some light rain to the southern Kenai Peninsula into southern Cook Inlet and up along the western Alaska Range, maybe into the little bit into the Susitna Valley, as well as the North Gulf Coast. Periods of light rain and showers there, especially for Prince William Sound. Kind of gusty southeast winds through Turnagain Arm and the mountain passes of south central Alaska. But nice weather for the Panhandle, highs upper 60s to lower, maybe even mid 70s, warmest in the south there. And then for Wednesday, still wet here in the west with a persistent frontal boundary right through this area and a series of lows developing on that front and tracking northward, but the whole system gradually shifting eastward. So a much better chance of rain in across south central Alaska, northern Cook Inlet now into Prince William Sound, and the Susitna Valley, to a lesser extent in the Matanuska Valley, and mostly dry for the Copper River Basin with continued gusty winds here all across south central Alaska. And still with this front up here to the north, look for the cooler conditions to the north, obviously, with the rain and snow chances there for the eastern Arctic coast in toward the Brooks Range and the north slope with rain to the south. And you can see that rain extends all the way down off the chart there. High pressure here, keeping it dry and nice over the southeast coast. And out to the west, higher pressure here, making for light winds and dry conditions for the western central Aleutians and southwest Bering Sea. That high ahead of the next storm that pushes onto the chart here, bringing gale force winds into the western Aleutians Thursday afternoon. A weak low here, St. Matthew Island, some light precipitation there that may extend south to the Pribilof Islands. Otherwise, not too bad for the central and eastern Aleutians. Kind of a break coming into that area. Low pressure tracks into the west central interior with rain and gusty winds. A couple of wet, windy days coming up Wednesday and Thursday for south central Alaska, even into the Kuskokwim Valley there and in toward the central interior. But the east side here, you can see staying dry for the mid and upper Tanana Valley, 40-mile country into the Yukon Flats. Staying mostly dry with maybe some clearing, but not much in the way of sunshine because a lot of thick cirrus and mid and high level moisture will be streaming over the area there. And mixed precipitation chances along the Brooks Range with dry conditions now for the Arctic coast. Another sunny day, highs in the 70s for the southeast coast. And for the lows tonight, upper 40s to mid 50s for the Panhandle. Got lower to mid 30s here for the North Slope and the Arctic coast, into the lower to mid 50s over the northeast interior, cooling back to near 50 along the southwest coast with 40s in the Aleutians there. And for the highs tomorrow, lower 70s, Northway, Tok, Chicken up toward Eagle, mid 60s for Fort Yukon, 65 to 70 into the Tanana Valley there. And for south central Alaska, highs in the 60s. And 60s, cooler over the northern panhandle, mid-60s, a forecast highs there, 66 at Juneau, for example. It's 72 forecast for Craig, Hawak, Ketchikan, Metlakatla, 60 for Kodiak, and in the 50s out here to the west. And the lows for Wednesday morning, upper 20s to lower 30s now, a little chillier there for the Arctic coast into the North Slope, 40s to lower 50s in the interior, but mostly in the 40s back out here to the west, all the way down to the Pribilof Islands and the Aleutians. Otherwise, lower to mid 50s elsewhere. And then for the highs on Wednesday afternoon, very nice 70s continue here across much of the southeast coast and also for the eastern interior. And upper 50s to lower 60s now with more thicker clouds, more precipitation, south central Alaska. And upper 30s to lower 40s for the Arctic coast and North Slope, and still in the 50s out over the Bering Sea and the Aleutians. And looking at the 6 to 10 day temperature outlook, looks like temperatures near normal here in the west and to the north, and above to much above normal temperatures here as you head southeast, with the warmest from the eastern Kenai Peninsula into the Copper River Basin, as well as the southeast coast. And then for the precipitation, wettest areas appear to be here in the west, drying a little bit to the east, much drier over the panhandle.